Gen Lead. This is your host, Ashreya, and today we bring to you leadership with insights from Mr. Stanford Thompson. Mr. Stanford Thompson is a professional trumpeter and is also the founder and executive director of Play On Philly, while being a TED Fellow. He seeks to inspire individuals and change through the processes of his music, his education, and his motivation to create harmony through the music he propagates. He has managed to gain over $9 million of funding and has been able to revolutionize the way Philadelphians and surrounding communities view music and use it in their daily conductions. In his words, he believes that orchestras offer us lessons in leadership, innovation, diversity, and inclusion, which are each essential tenets which resonate within the social context of present day. He's also involved with the League of American Orchestras and El Sistema-inspired initiatives, which give him the opportunity to present his ideas to a broad platform and promulgate his concept ideas again, which are leadership, diversity, inclusion, and innovation. Let's begin with a bit of background. Throughout history, myth even, leadership has been tremendously valued. One primary example of this can be observed through the crowning of Zeus as the king of the gods in Greek mythology. When Zeus overthrew his father to take over the position of leadership, he represented change. Being a guide of nature, he stood to represent harmony through the change. Moreover, he came to represent the reward-punishment system instituted in society. However, the story of Zeus can be further analyzed in context in society, to observe how leaders must be aware of change and be authentic in their presentation of self to successfully continue their period of governance. When Zeus heard a prophecy that Metis would give birth to another child, after Athena, his child, who would take over his position of leadership, he attempted to terminate the situation by swallowing her entirely. However, Athena managed to emerge from his head and was thereafter another leader within the context of Greek mythology, symbolizing hierarchical generations of leadership. We can observe through this Zeus's authenticity, his adaptation to change, and his qualities of leadership, and consequently, his qualities which oppose the characteristics of an ideal leader as well. So, what does make an ideal leader? Is it any of these qualities, or any combination of these? Let's ask Mr. Stanford Thompson what his perspective is on the most diminished characteristic of leadership in society today. So, Mr. Stanford Thompson, which aspect of leadership do you find to be diminished in today's society, which you actually think could play a pivotal role?
I believe the idea of failure, of being able to take a big risk, and not really needing to know all of the answers. But as you try it out, being able to say, well, that didn't quite work, and not having or being vulnerable enough to take that failure to people around you to help you fix it. So I just think that aspect of leadership, a lot of people want to lead, but not a lot want to take the risk and fail and then tell other people about the failure and how it could be improved or maybe even evolve into something bigger and better.
Heading back to our concepts of mythology, we can note a division of powers as associated with the supposed greatest powers within Greek mythology. The control over three areas, earth, air, and water, are spread to three different individuals. While Zeus commands the air, Poseidon commands the seas and the water, and Gaia controls the earth. However, the three are interlinked in their functions, and we can notice parallels between this and modern leadership as it is observed today. In essence, this team of individuals necessitates the ability to be able to reference one another and have cooperative efforts towards success. Following such a thought process, Alan Ennis once noted that it is important to be vocal, to be comfortable being wrong, and to inspire your team to be opinionated and to challenge you. This is characterized through the formula of 25% wrong in me and 50% right in you is equal to 75% right of success rate. How does a leader effectively accumulate and incorporate feedback into their work methodology? And how do they effectively provide it to the rest of their team members as well? Let's head back over to Mr. Stanford Thompson to find out. Being comfortable being wrong and inspiring your team to be opinionated is important, as Alan Ennis once noted. So the formula point was that being 25% wrong yourself and having the 50% right from the team makes a 75% total success rate. So how does a leader effectively incorporate feedback into their work methodology? How do they effectively improve their team members using that feedback system as well?
Yeah, so formally we have quarterly reviews. In some cases we will have monthly meetings, more like monthly strategy meetings and almost weekly tactical meetings. So within that, there's always an opportunity to give feedback. And I believe one of the worst things that you can do is not give it. And people, they don't grow, they don't change. And I believe that every organization should be doing that on a regular basis. So yeah, it's never ever an easy process to go through, just because usually the person receiving the feedback can be in any state of mind. And then of course the person giving the feedback. It's really easy to not go the distance, even if the observations and the truth might hurt. Because then I think it really helps the person receiving the feedback to figure out if they are in the right place, and if they are ultimately happy there.
Relating this to current contexts, several leadership methodologies exist, ranging from those which favor team building to those which favors team success rates, and even those which favor the reward-punishment system as we first discussed. But how do different leadership styles affect the efficacy of a leader? For instance, do you see the efficacy of a transformational leader to differ from that of a laissez-faire or facilitative leader? And which is preferred by society today in its political, social, and professional environments? The question here is regarding the value that is most important within the fostering of a team, whether that's independence and individuality of the team members or the enhancement of the qualities of the team members individually.
Sure. Yep, I think every leader is born with one of those qualities that you mentioned. I think the question is, can that leader evolve to have a palette of tools at his or her disposal? So if you only want to be a consensus building leader all the time, that's going to be a problem from time to time. But there are moments when that is appropriate, and that really helps. And there are probably many moments when it's not. I just, within leadership, I think that leaders should do the very, very best they can to learn and to understand, what triggers them, what's really their style, but what are other styles that other people rely on to be as successful in their role as possible. I think one thing that's important, if you're talking about, the political world or the corporate world, at the end of the day, humans are humans. I think it's how leaders connect with the people around them. So I think that is, kind of what connects the two. I think that how people kind of act in those environments is much different. So we can even take the corporate world versus the nonprofit world. They're just a different set of incentives for the for-profit world than it is the nonprofit world. Now, you would want a leader of any of those organizations to be well equipped to lead their various teams. But at the end of the day, if you are being rewarded by, making profits, essentially making your shareholders more wealthy, then you're going to go about doing your work slightly different. You will most likely, generally speaking, need humans who are executing tasks and, of course, trying to outperform themselves probably every quarter. In the nonprofit sector, when you're not rewarded by, especially financial gains, then it is completely different. You're probably measuring that person off of their effectiveness of being able to help the people that they say they're going to help. So if you approach leadership in either way in different environments, then you could end up in a situation where in the for-profit, the corporate world, your employees are not really helping to make a good return. Your shareholders will be upset, and somebody probably won't keep their job. And vice versa, if you're trying to lead a nonprofit team, trying to push for more and more out of people that you probably aren't paying well, and they're motivated in a different way intrinsically, then it's like good luck keeping them. They'll probably run away and go work somewhere else.
So personally for you, through your professional endeavors, which qualities have been most crucial?
All of the above. All of the qualities are important. When I sit down and talk with a major donor who might be donating $250,000 a year, $500,000 a year, $1 million, that what I ultimately need to report back to them is completely different than somebody who is on the ground doing day-to-day program delivery. So the leadership that I need to have has to be different. And if it's one of my senior staff members that reports to me, sometimes I do have to take a corporate-like mentality as we're trying to accomplish some really big goals. So if children are not staying in our program, it's really hard to tell people that we are changing the lives of kids when, let's just say, half of the children disappear. We're no longer serving them. So there are times when I believe that, yeah, you have to have, you have to be able to have that corporate mentality of, wow, if we don't keep these kids, then the person even giving us $500,000 to help them won't be very happy because their money is not going to the purpose that they originally put it in for.
Here's an interesting tidbit of information for you. Innovation comes from the Latin word innovationum, from innovare. One could go into further exploration of this term to learn that innovation as a word applies to the ability to repurpose information or to renew the information. This ability is weighed against other ones, such as accuracy and the speed of thought in the professional world, to gauge the marketability of an entity or process, or to determine how efficient that same entity or process would be in its exemplification. Which then is most important, or is there a certain balance that needs to be struck amongst the three?
So which is most important in your opinion, having innovation, speed, or accuracy? And how do each have relevant effects upon entities, professional or social?
You know, there's that old saying that you got to learn how to walk before you run, or crawl before you walk before you run. It is extremely important to get it right. I don't think that you do anybody good by trying to be the first or trying to get it done quickly. So I value quality over quantity. And I just have a hard time even producing quality in a rushed way. Once it's established though, and you know what you are doing, then I think it's easier to speed up the process. But until, you know, it's everything from, you know, wanting to hire people. If you rush through that process, you'll end up shooting yourself in the foot. However, I mean, why can't you get to know people year round? So when you do have to make your hires in the summer, that it is a process that you can actually go through very quickly because you decided months ago to put in, you know, 30-minute coffee meeting here with this person who just sent in a resume. If not, then you end up with 200 resumes and you're trying to go through it and you're pretty hasty, and who you hire? And you're hiring people based off of what they wrote on a sheet of paper. So anyway, so just to use that as an example, I think there's just a lot of value in learning how to crawl before you walk and before you run.
Okay, so definitely going for the accuracy part of that. And as a musician, obviously improvisation is a key factor of your daily conduction. So in a similar way, for a leader, do you think improvisation and innovation are important qualities?
Has to be. It has to be part of the repertoire, as I like to say. I mean, seriously, gosh, I mean, if you can't think on your feet and be solution oriented, being able to improvise, gosh, being able to just come up with, I mean, the answer that you need, or figuring out how are you going to get to a certain outcome. Can't stress it enough. And it's really interesting. I even think back to my musical training of how much, you are encouraged to really think outside of that box. Because thinking inside of the box is not good enough.
Opportunities are endless. Presentation of opportunity is plentiful, but the assumption of the responsibility that comes with leadership is minimal. And the assertion to be made to ensure that leadership is taken on by the entirety of the youth is a demanding one. How does one encourage the youth involvement in leadership from a young age? How is youth involvement necessary and a stepping stone to future success?
Where do you see the greatest level of youth contribution towards leadership in its entirety? How do you encourage the youth contribution in society?
I think reminding young people that it's you're not too young to be a leader. And honestly, I think that a lot of folks think that you have to, I don't know, have gray hair and a big beard or something, or and it's not only with young people, but also even with women, with people of color. It's saying that it is for you. So I'm just glad that even when I was young, that I'm glad that my mom never said, "No, you're too young to have that idea or to pursue that." So yeah, I don't really buy that one is too young to be an effective leader.
So you feel as though the stoppage right now in youth contribution is that they don't have the perseverance of seeking that position because they don't feel as though they will be accepted in that position of leadership, or they don't see the motivation towards that because of an established stereotype about the typical leader?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I know it's not more of an answer than that. Yeah, there's many other components. I mean, you could say access to leadership courses or mentors in their life that encourages them. But I still think that there is a perception that, oh, I'm just in college. I just need to go to my classes and that's it. Not to be, an entrepreneur at all. Or I'm only in high school. I see that there's a need in my community, but I'm just in high school. I don't work for the Red Cross. I don't, I can't organize my friends and go clean up a park, or ask people for donations for trash bags, or ask the city, can you bring out a big dumpster so we can throw things away? It's those types of things. I mean, I think if people, first of all, can't see themselves in that position, then why would they ever want to pursue it?
Through your work as the founder of Play On Philly, how do you seek to inspire change within the Philadelphian communities and beyond?
To take one step back, I am a professional trumpet player who came or moved to Philadelphia from Atlanta, Georgia, to study at the Curtis Institute of Music, which is technically the hardest college in America to get into, with the lowest acceptance rate. Tuition free, not a single student pays $1 of tuition to go there. Also connected to the classical music world, having direct access to the best conductors, best musicians. My vision for Philadelphia is that we are a city that is rich in musical resources, and human resources of artists and music teachers, and also blessed to be a city with a really engaged philanthropic community. And my hope is that instead of leveraging the vast majority, about 90% of philanthropic arts dollars to go to our largest fine arts institutions, if it's the museum or the orchestra. But the question is, if we could only get 10% more of those philanthropic dollars to go into music education, that's what I'm advocating for.
Okay, so great.
Today, we've covered a plethora of facets of leadership and its characteristics, including covering the multitude of necessitated ideal characteristics for a leader, as well as those which would be detrimental for an institution or an organization's leader. Compiling these into one singular statement is a challenge, to say the least. Nonetheless, Mr. Stanford Thompson, we would like to ask of you, from the formulas of Alan Ennis to Albert Einstein to other leaders in several fields, what is your overarching formula of leadership, which the next generation of leaders can apply?
Experiment often. Experiment when you're young. Everybody comes up with ideas, and one can't be afraid to go after them. You don't learn leadership overnight. It's, I think, a lifelong experience. So why not begin that experience now? And no matter what it is in life, I mean, raising a family and being a leader in that, being a leader in your local church or community center, even on your block in your neighborhood. If there's something that can be adjusted or something that can get accomplished, then why not attempt it? So my formula essentially is to realize one's potential when they're young, and do everything possible to learn and stay open to learning.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thompson, for joining us today. We are extremely grateful for your contributions towards our society, and we are quite so thankful for the opportunities that you've presented to the next generation of leaders. Jen Lead, this is Ashreya signing off. But don't forget to like, subscribe below, and also let us know in the comments what you think.